Which of the following is not true? A. Parrotfish have no similarities to parrots. B. Parrotfish almost always change sexes during their lifetime. Or C. Parrotfish have parrot-like beaks. There's only one incorrect and two correct statements. Keep listening to Formosa Fauna to find out which is which. Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can become smarter than all of your friends. Hello, I'm Tristan, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them, so if you're remotely curious about anything in the animal kingdom, you're in the right place. Today we're going to talk about Taiwan cutting back on animal testing but struggling to meet international standards, gender-fluid fish, parrotfish, the British zoologist Charles Elton, rethinking the food chain, and how to get a dog to stop play biting. Let's dive right in. Just this month in Taiwan, the Ministry of Agriculture honored researchers and institutions for advancing laboratory animal welfare, noting a 9% drop in animal experiments nationwide over the past decade. Officials highlighted long-standing use of the 3R principles: refine, reduce, and replace to improve ethical treatment. New methods and non-animal tests have cut animal use significantly and shortened testing times. Special awards went to several experts for their work in promoting humane practices, and 22 institutions were recognized for excellence in animal care and staff training. Animal experimentation was involved in more than 7,800 projects per year in Taiwan, with 1.1 million to 1.2 million lab animals used per year, of which rodents made up the largest part at about 60%, according to the Department of Animal Welfare Director Jiang Wenquan. Officials said Taiwan will continue expanding alternatives to animal testing despite challenges in meeting strict international standards. Today, you're gonna learn about the parrotfish. Parrotfish are responsible for generating a lot of the beautiful sand on the beaches most beloved by visitors, just like in the Maldives. Maldives? Oh no! In fact, as Dr. Helen Scales wrote, scientists analyzed the sand's origins in detail on Vakru Island, finding that about 85% of the sand was made by parrotfish. They help turn coral into pulverized, powdery sand, and actually, although it may be a little shocking or disgusting, white tropical sands are mostly made up of parrotfish excrement, so parrotfish poop. Around 100 species of parrotfish live on coral reefs, seagrass meadows, and rocky coasts across the world. They have a lot of teeth, about 1,000 teeth that are lined up in 15 rows and stuck together, making that incredibly strong. If a tooth gets worn out, it's simply pushed out and replaced by the next in line, sort of like a shark. These teeth are formed into an easily recognizable pattern that looks like a bird beak, giving them their name, parrotfish. If you've ever scuba dived before, you may already be familiar with this fish, as the sound of them chewing on limestone and dead coral skeletons is rather unforgettable, as it can be heard very easily from within the waters. Their incredible teeth are fused as one to their jawbone, according to the Great Barrier Reef Foundation. The foundation also says the crystalline structure of their teeth is so sturdy it would beat gold, copper, and silver in a fracture test. Most parrotfish are herbivores and feed on seaweed that grows on the reefs. They do also end up eating some of the limestone from the old, dead coral skeletons underneath that seaweed. The coral gets ground up into a fine powder before they swallow it, with an extra second set of teeth towards the back of their throats, which Dr. Helen Scales explains as being in there like they were trying to swallow a pair of dentures. Once the nutrients have been digested, the powdery limestone emerges from the other end as a trickle of fine sand. Dr. Scales also explains parrotfish as ecological engineers, as on the Palmyra Atoll in the Pacific Ocean, scientists followed bumphead parrotfish as they went about their days, counting their bodily functions, and finding that on average, the meter-long or 3-foot-long fish can take about 3 bites of coral every minute and defecate 20 times every hour. The bumphead parrotfish can eat up to 6 tons of coral a year. While it may sound like they destroy quite a bit of coral, making them pests, they're actually tremendously important for the health of coral reefs, as they help make sure corals don't become overgrown by algae. The clean surfaces on old coral they leave make it easier for coral larvae to settle in, forming new colonies. In Panama, fossilized remains of reefs have shown that for thousands of years, corals and parrotfish have been repeating this process and benefiting from one another. Studies have also shown that over the past 200 years, when overfishing has caused parrotfish numbers to fall, the corals have been growing more slowly, so decreasing in size or number, and have become less healthy. So there is a direct correlation to the number of parrotfish in the area and the overall health and sustainability of the corals. Marine Madness writes that parrotfish are unusually good sleepers for fish as well. To throw another interesting fact at you, they sleep around 10 hours at a time while out in the sea. For a human, that's impressive. For a fish, that's even more impressive. There's also another absolutely fascinating thing about parrotfish, which is they typically change their sex during their lifetime. Along with the sex change comes a makeover too. They almost always start out as a monochromatic female, then change to rainbow-colored males, and sometimes, in some cases, they will even change back to being female. Taiwan is an island that is 70% covered by mountains, lakes, and jungle. Taiwan's early connections to the Pacific and Southeast Asia are well established and are the basis for seeing Taiwan as an ocean nation. Did you know that over 17,000 species thrive in the deep sea, where no light penetrates the ocean waves? Or that there are 38,000 different kinds of microbes in a liter of seawater? Check back in next week for more fascinating fish facts. The Scientist of the Week, Charles Elton. British zoologist Charles Elton published a book in 1927 titled Animal Ecology. It described what he coined the food cycle. Later on, he would develop theories that encompassed more complex interactions between animals and the environment, insights that underpin modern animal ecology. He likened the knowledge of individual plant and animal species to the cells in a beehive, each cell of knowledge forming something much more than the sum of its parts. It's the beehive of ecology. Let's talk about food as it relates to animal ecology. You've heard of the food chain, right? Everyone knows that concept of the food chain, that all living things are linked together through their dependence on other organisms for food, and that's sort of at the basis of how we understand life and how we interact with one another. This concept dates back many centuries, but it actually wasn't until the 20th century that scientists developed the concept of food chains forming a food web. Nowadays, the study of animal ecology focuses on environmental interaction, why populations rise and fall, why animal behavior can change, and the impact environmental changes have on animals. There is a basic understanding in animal ecology that there is generally a balance in nature. So if the population of a given species grows too large, it will be regulated. But the relationship between organisms and their environment changes from place to place and throughout time. At the bottom of a food chain, you have producers. Those are plants and algae that can feed plant eaters, we call herbivores. And these herbivores can then feed carnivores and omnivores. Competition for food at the top of the food web or food chain is actually very tight. Large apex predators like tigers, although they don't have natural predators, they do have to defend territories against other tigers to ensure there is enough food for themselves and their offspring, and they have to rely on everything below them. Elton, our scientist of the week, had one key point relating to the size of food. He said that food chains exist primarily because of food size. To grasp that concept, let's use an example. Wolves go for medium-sized or large-sized mammals, such as elk. If they didn't have a sizable mammal to hunt, they would find it very difficult catching enough smaller animals to sustain them. Think about wolves and how much energy they would expend trying to catch, let's say, rats or mice instead. They may easily expend more energy hunting these animals down than they would gain by consuming them. Therefore, Elton posited that an organism's body size is a primary determinant of its position in the food chain. A core principle of the theory is that predators are generally larger than their prey, and that this size difference creates the structure of food chains and connects them together. While Charles Elton used a pyramid as a way of graphically representing the different levels in a food chain, with the producers at the bottom, so the plants and algae, and the primary consumers at the level above, then the apex predators at the top, there are actually three major types of ecological pyramids used today. First, we have the pyramid of numbers. At the bottom, we can see 10,000 freshwater shrimp. Working our way up, we have 1,000 bleak, then 100 perch, then 10 northern pike, and 1 osprey. That's the pyramid of numbers. Next, we have the pyramid of biomass. We'll use the U.S. customary system for this one. At the bottom, we can see 18 million pounds per square mile of grass. Working our way up, we have 17,000 pounds per square mile of snowshoe hare. Then 1,700 pounds per square mile of red fox, and at the top, 340 pounds per square mile of wolves. That's the pyramid of biomass. Third, we have the pyramid of energy. At the bottom, we have producers at 100%. Working our way up, we have herbivores at 10%, then carnivores at 1%, and apex predators at 0.01%. That is the pyramid of energy. These three are the three major types of ecological pyramids. Okay? We had numbers, biomass, and energy. These ecological pyramids represent quantifiable data in an ecosystem. There are more than just these, though, like the trophic pyramid that American ecologist Raymond Lindemann proposed, which shows the rate at which energy is transferred from one level to the next as herbivores eat plants and predators eat herbivores, much like the pyramid of energy. Plants and algae are at trophic level 1, so the organism's trophic level is the position it occupies in a food chain. When we have plants and algae at trophic level 1, herbivores are at level 2, the first line of predators at level 3, and then it moves up from there. Interestingly, it is rare for there to be more than 5 trophic levels. The pyramid doesn't just get smaller due to the size of the animals getting larger towards the top, though. Only some of the energy it takes for plants to grow is transferred to the primary consumer. Then only some of the energy it took to sustain those primary consumers, the herbivores, is transferred to the predator, and so on. This also contributes to the competition at the top. Lindemann in 1942 published the 10% law, explaining that when organisms are consumed, only about 10% of the energy from them is stored at the next trophic level. The other 90% is lost as heat, used for life processes, or they become waste. While it is a good starting point and is still used in science today, even after 83 years, assessing energy transfer accurately requires a lot of information about energy intake and the number and mass of organisms. And to end this section on food before it gets too complicated, let's end with a fun koala fact. A koala bear requires about 2.5 pounds or 1 kilogram of eucalyptus leaves per day. That's around 1,000 leaves or so. Thankfully, eucalyptus is common in Australia, the only place koalas are found in the wild in the world, and surprisingly, they are one of the very few mammals that can actually consume the eucalyptus leaves. And because eucalyptus smells fresh, clean, and sharp with woody, earthy notes and a hint of mint or menthol, koalas may very well have very nice breath. So if you could take just one thing away from that section, if it went right over your head, just remember, there's a good chance koalas have pretty good breath. Do you have or know a dog who play bites? According to the Nebraska Humane Society, nipping, mouthing, and biting in young dogs is generally a form of social play, not a teething behavior. This play-biting behavior tends to disappear slowly over time, but because it's so natural for dogs, they might not stop doing it without being taught. You can teach a dog to stop play-biting though, whether they do it as a young pup or still do it into their adulthood. There are 3 ways to do that, and they are getting your dog used to touch, showing your dog what's acceptable to bite, or teaching the dog that play biting leads to training. The first of those methods is getting your dog used to touch. This is based around the principle that dogs tend to play bite because they get annoyed when touched or held. As a small pup, they might feel a bit powerless when swept up by large humans suddenly throughout their day, and they don't know of a better way to communicate that. Desensitizing dogs to touch includes massaging around the ears, muzzle, neck, paws, and body. Dogs often start out wanting to run away, so perhaps this desensitization can start while they have an activity to do that keeps them stationary, like a chew toy or a treat. The positive association with the treat is an added bonus in this training. The second of these methods is showing your dog what's acceptable to bite. Biting isn't inherently bad, it's what they bite that makes it good or bad. If you can encourage the biting with proper objects, like a rope, bone, or toy, it might help them associate the biting with the proper object. Dog trainer Zach George suggests initiating a game of tug-of-war to do this. He suggests keeping the toy interesting by bringing life and movement to it, and consistently refocusing their attention towards that toy. If they bite during this tug-of-war session, give them a firm no, remove access to whatever they bit, like your arm or your leg, stand up and walk a few feet away, don't further engage. After a while, they will automatically associate the unnecessary and excessive play biting with the end of fun. The third method is teaching your dog that play biting leads to training. It's a little counterintuitive at first too because it involves bringing the treats out. But the play bite would initiate a serious training session packed with sit, lay down, shake, come, stay, roll over, whatever else you typically have packed into a training session. This could help more for dogs who play bite when they get riled up. Okay, so this method is more for those that get riled up easily, and then which is what leads them to play biting. Bringing out a toy, like in the second method, may only further rile these kinds of dogs up, so the serious formal training session can get them to dial it back a little bit, and help them transition into a more cooperative mindset. Dog trainer Zach George says most dogs bite significantly less when in food mode versus play mode, so just make sure they don't associate the treat with the bite, and you can most likely put an end to the play biting. This segment of the show will teach listeners just like you how to train dogs. Starting with the basics, tune in each episode and you'll eventually be able to do just about anything as far as training goes. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. See you next week for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.